So June 1st in the MLB, we're going to start with the Detroit Tigers versus the Tampa Bay Rays. And as you can see, the opening odds are on the screen. We're just going to focus on the ones on the left. Plus 132 for Detroit opening, minus 156 for Tampa. We're also going to go over the current odds as well as the splits. And let's get to those current odds right now. Plus 136 for Detroit, minus 162 for Tampa Bay. What you want to look out for, they're above that minus 150 threshold. And so is the Detroit Tigers on the run line or the spread. Minus 154 currently. They dip below that, you have to worry, but let's see where the splits are, 7%. You only want to see this increase to have confidence in it. And Tampa Bay, they're above that minus 150. They dip below minus 150 threshold, especially since they're getting 86% of the money and 86% of the betting on the money line. That's when you need to be worried about Tampa Bay in this instance. But over under is 7.5, minus 122 for the over, plus 100 for the under. Let's see where the splits are for this one. Let's see where the cost began. Okay, yeah, it was minus 122 plus 100, as you can see right there, opening as well. This is still early in the morning, so just keep that in mind. 80%, which is actually relatively low. Only 80% putting of money, 96% of the betting. So people going under heavy in this one. And let's see, under 7.5 plus 100. You have to monitor which way this goes, to the negative or the positive by game time. What you want to look out for is, does the under 7.5 go to minus, let's say, 104 and the over goes to minus 118? You got to look at that under in that instance. If it stays in the positive, you would want this to decrease, this 20%. That's what you would want to see. Other than that, you can join the public and go with that over in that instance. All right, Miami versus Washington. Plus 120 for Miami. Washington minus 142 on the money line. And this minus 172 is what you want to focus on. Heavy negative for a run line. And in this instance, you may want to, let's see where the public is going. 98% and 82%. 98% going with Washington. And 98%, yes, 98% going with Washington currently. Now, that is obviously going to change as the day goes on, as we approach the game. Plus 142, what you want to look out for. If this goes significantly lower than 80%, let's say it goes to 62, 65%, something like that. The Washington money on the run line, that is. What you want to look out for is, how does this increase, if at all? Does it increase? Does it go to plus, let's say, plus 158, or does it dip? Or does it go to minus 128 or 122 or something like that? Then you will want to look at, does Miami hold their advantage in the negative, the higher negative, or did they increase too much in the positive? Increasing towards the positive, that is. But that minus 172 looks decent so far. Over under 8.5. Minus 108 going over. Minus 112 going under. And what you want to look out for in that one is, does it even up? Does it even up? 94% and 90% currently going with the over. Does this even up? If it evens up, and this is getting a significant amount like it is now, more than likely it'll be probably around 84, 78% by the time the game starts for the over. But I would join the public in that instance. All right, Kansas City versus Cincinnati. Plus 158 for Cincinnati. For Kansas City, excuse me, minus 188 for Cincinnati. And the run line is 1.5 point underdogs are the Royals at minus 128 cost. Now, is a significantly higher than minus 150 threshold, Cincinnati. But where are they on the splits? Let's see. Okay, 94% and 99%. 94% and 99% on the money here and here for Cincinnati, which actually looks viable to happen. But obviously these numbers are going to change. They are going to change. They're going to decrease, and they're definitely going to decrease throughout the day. But keep in mind, This may even increase in the positive, and Cincinnati could still take it. More than likely could happen because this is definitely going to go below 99. It's probably going to be around 70% by the time the game starts. The money on Cincinnati's run line. But the over-under, minus 120 and minus 102, 8.5, 8.5. Kansas City, let's see. Okay, 94, 94, and 86 on that over. I would lean toward that over in that instance as long as they hold a significant advantage in the negative. Once it starts to even out around 112, 110, look to go the other direction. Now, San Francisco versus Milwaukee. Plus 124 for the Giants. Milwaukee Brewers, minus 146. Sorry about that. Minus 146. All right. Minus 178. Let's see. Where did Milwaukee start? Oh, wait, let me go to the ML. Where did they start on the ML? Okay. That's what I wanted to see. They were significantly, well, not significantly, but like 12 points lower. Higher in the negative, that is, for Milwaukee. They're approaching that minus 150. If Milwaukee goes above that minus 150 threshold at all today, bet Milwaukee in that instance. They will more than likely hold that positioning. And they're getting a majority. Yeah, they will more than likely hold that positioning, and they're getting majority currently on these spreads. So keep that in mind. All right, San Francisco minus 178 on the, and they're only getting 2%. Minus 178 on the run line, that is. They're only getting 2%. Okay. Minus 170. What you want to see is this plus. Because you can go Milwaukee across the board if you want to, but this plus 146 is more than likely going to have to decrease or hold, because this is going to decrease as well. So this is going to be around 75% more than likely by game time. The run line. Betting to money on the run line. So that 2% is going to definitely increase. So just keep that in mind. Could be Milwaukee across the board. Over, under, 7.5, minus 105. Over, minus 115. Under, 78% money going with the over. And so far, I would join the public that minus 105s haven't hit as much as the minus 115s this season in baseball. But in this instance, these odds will more than likely change. They could flip. If they flip, for sure, take that over for sure. But that under, monitor if that doesn't go to 120 or higher as it increases here as well. But let's go to the next one. All right, Chicago versus, well, let me scroll down. All right, Chicago versus Minnesota. Plus 144 for Chicago. Minus 172 for Minnesota on the money line. Minnesota is at home. Minus 146. Chicago White Sox plus 1.5. Now, they're above this minus 150 threshold. The Minnesota Twins are on the money line. But this minus 146, this is going to teeter around that minus 150 threshold, at least for the next few hours. And what you want to look out for is, let me scroll down with this as well. What you want to look out for is that they're getting 21%. 21%. That increases to about 28, 30% in the next few hours. And this goes above minus 150, guaranteed right there. But just keep that in mind. Over, under, minus 110 at 8. 92 and 84. Okay. I would actually join the public and take that over in this instance. As it currently stands, only because it's even. Whichever one goes to the higher negative, and I think it will be more significant. It will probably be like minus 105, minus 115 by game time. Whichever one has the minus 115, lean in that direction. Okay, Texas versus St. Louis. Minus 124 to plus 106. Minus 124 for Texas. And let's see, they could take this across the board, because it's, whenever you get this plus 140s to minus 170s or plus 150s to minus 180s, the positives normally win on that run line. They normally win on that run line. Okay, in the minus 170 is what you, the plus 140 is what you want to look out for. Okay, 76% for Texas. And for the, on their run line, excuse me, and 39% money on their. See, feel more confident if this increases. If this goes to minus 130 plus 110, you may want to look at Texas across the board for sure. They could hold this minus 124 and still take it though. They could even go down to minus 120 and still take it, which would make St. Louis minus 102. But be careful of that, because if St. Louis goes to the negative, you would have to consider them across the board, obviously, on the ML. If you go with them on the ML, you would go with them on the spread. But yeah, look for which one. Look for whether St. Louis goes to that negative. Over under minus 105 going over 8. Under is getting minus 115. 8 under 8. Okay, let's see what his splits are for that. 94% and 70%. Over is not getting as high of a total in this one. I would actually join the public and go with that under. The higher negative currently, regardless, even if it flips. The way these lineups are in this game, I would go with that under. Especially since it's been Texas Rangers have been scoring quite high here and there, better than they've been playing here recently. But next one, Colorado versus LA Angels, plus 168 for the Colorado Rockies, minus 200 for the LA Angels, minus 125 here to plus 104. Now, what you want to look out for, if the Angels run line minus 1.5, 1.5 run favorite, plus 104. If they go to the negative at all today, at any given time, take them on the run line, which means you would take the LA Angels on the ML. Over under. If not, the Colorado Rockies could take, if the Colorado Rockies have a significant less, and they do, 8% here, a significantly less ML, you would have to consider, you would have to consider them, especially if this decreases. Monitor if this decreases while this increases or holds. Then you would go with the Colorado Rockies in that instance. If not, take the LA Angels. All right. LA Dodgers versus Arizona Diamondbacks. Minus 158 for the Dodgers, plus 134 for the Diamondbacks. Plus 106, excuse me. There's a glare on the screen. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm stuttering pretty much. Minus 128 for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Okay. On the run line, that is. Now the favorite on the road, minus 158. Let me scroll down. Okay, 81% money, 87% betting, 63% and 64% for the Dodgers betting to money on the run line. Looks decent across the board for LA Dodgers. Looks like a decent pick. Whenever you have a relatively low positive value for the favorite, like this plus 106, and you have this minus 158, the money line above the minus 150 threshold, those hit more so than not. And normally it's for afternoon games, but it does happen earlier, but mainly it's for afternoon games. And the higher negative hits, the favorites hit across the board. Over, under, 9. Minus 105 going over, minus 115 going under on the cost. 94 and 83%. What you want to see is if this 83% money and 94%, they're going to decrease. But how will they decrease? How much will they decrease? If it's a significant amount, more than, let's say, from where it is now, more than 10%, 10 to 12%, or higher, you will want to see either this go down to 8.5 or the cost increase, or let's say it flips to minus 115 over, minus 105 under. Then you will want to take the over in that instance. Any other way, take the under in this instance, especially since it's such a relatively high run line, 9. But lean toward that over, but monitor that cost. The cost holds up, you may want to consider that under. All right, New York Mets versus Seattle. Plus 110 for New York Mets, Seattle at minus 130. Minus 210 for the 1.5 run underdog Mets on the road. 1.5 point run favorites are the Seattle Mariners at plus 172 cost. Over under is at 7. Minus 106 cost going over, minus 114 going under. Now this minus 210 here on the spread for the New York Mets. You want to monitor what happens with this plus, which is positive. Ignore the run line. When you have this high of a run line for the cost, minus two over around two minus 200, minus 180 plus, higher any negative that is, you want to look at the ML. How does the money line stack out? Plus 110. If they approach that negative, if they approach that, let's say they go to plus 106, plus 104, plus 102, and even get to that minus 102, minus 106, something like that. What you want to look out for is, does this 14% increase to about 40%? That's what you want to see. While they go to the plus, the towards the negative, that is. If it maintains here, you may want to consider Seattle on the ML and New York Mets on the spread, especially if the money line holds up as is. And Seattle has a significant amount on the betting to money on the money line. So just keep that in mind. Over-unders at 7. 92 and 86 going over. And I would lean toward that under in this instance. I would lean toward that under in this game if it has the higher negative. I'm parched right now. But yeah, y'all pray every day. I've been Scott. Take it easy. We will be posting picks as well as the parlays as well. The props and parlays. That's what I was trying to get to. But yeah, pray every day. I've been Scott. Join the Patreon. Link is in the description and in the video. You guys take care.